Jane and I'm in PaintShop Pro X9 today. I'm using the Edit tab and I'm in a default space as opposed to my customized version where I've got lots of extra toolbars and buttons that I use to make my life a bit easier. Please bear with me while I try and remember where everything is in the menus for this. You might see a couple of extra things in your own version if it's the first time you're using it. You might have an organiser down here at the bottom and various other things. Palettes and toolbars are turned off in the View menu and Palettes. So for instance, if I click Organiser, you might be seeing this at the bottom, but I tend not to use that, so I leave it turned off. So I'll go back and turn that off. Today I'm going to talk about getting perfect prints every time, with the focus being on the size rather than anything to do with actual photo editing. I'll perhaps address that in another video. One of the questions that I see a lot when I'm roaming around the internet is how can I get a true 4x6 photo? And also, how can I print a 4x3 photo on a 4x6 canvas size? And how can I get two of them on the same page? And I thought, well, let me show you how you can make a template to do that you can use again and again. And the process will work for any size photo, as long as your starting document is the size that you want. So let's start with 4x6 and open a new image. Our width wants to be 6 inches, our height wants to be 4 inches, and make sure the resolution is 300 pixels per inch. It is the standard that digital files come in, and also it just makes sure that everything works, and actually it's quite good for the sums that we'll be doing later on. I've chosen just a dark grey from the palette here, this one, the standard palette, because I want some contrast later on for something that we're going to do, and just click OK. The next thing that you could do with having on are your rulers and having them set to inches. These are the rulers at the top here. You'll find them under the View menu and just make sure there's a check mark for rulers. I'm using inches for the measurements because it's easier, and to make sure that yours are inches you can go to File, Preferences, General Program Preferences, and in this one, Units. Display units want to be inches, and again you can set the resolution here 300 pixels per inch. I'd recommend you do that so that any of the new documents that you create are always at that resolution. I have another video called Print View Script where I talk about viewing things in PaintShop Pro at 30%. That's so that this gap between the inches actually matches a gap more realistically in the physical world on a ruler of an inch, and that's usually around 30%. And we made a little toolbar icon here that we could click to do that and take us straight to 30%. If you haven't watched that video and you want to be able to do that, that will help you make your own little button to go there. If you haven't got it, you'll have to use these zoom out buttons until you get to 30%. Now our inches look more like inches would if we were holding this in our hand. Let's start by promoting this background layer so that we can use it. You can right click and choose Promote Background Layer. You can also right click to rename the layer, and we're going to call it for photo number 1. Then right click again and duplicate, and you can just click on it once and get a edit bar, and you can call this for photo number 2. Let's click back on this one. We're going to set this template up that it will work for a full 4x6 photo or 2 4x3 photos. And for the 4x3 photos, we're going to use what's called a mask layer. The first thing we're going to do is pick up our selection tool and choose one of these, it doesn't matter which, merged opaque. I'll just pull out my border here, and that gives us marching ants around the whole layer. And now I want to bring that in so that it's only half of the layer at 3 inches. So let's choose this button, Custom Selection. And here we have our measurements. Make sure Use Current Selection as Default is checked so that it gives us the right measurements. The measurements are in pixels, that's why we've got to do a little bit of maths now, and that's why 300 is quite handy. On the right hand side here, it's 1800 pixels, and we know we're at 300 pixels per inch, so if we knock off the zeros, 6 3s are 18, so it's 6 times 300 pixels, 1800. So if we want it at 3 inches, that's 3 by 300, so that's 900. Don't need to change the height of 1200 because I still want it at 4 inches. Can click OK. And now I've got my selection only on this first half. Down here on the layers palette, let's choose this mask, new mask layer, and we want this option, show selection. When we do that, it adds a mask layer and puts both of those layers into a group. The mask layer has white on one side, that's the bit that will show, and black on the other, that's the bit that will hide. We need to do the same for the next layer above, so click on it. Now, I've just had an idea that I think I can go for this option this time instead of changing the selection, and click Hide Selection. If we look here, I've got black on the left side and white on the right side, so that means anything in this white area will show. We can now remove the selection, select None, and that's the basic template done for having 2 photos on a 4x6 canvas. It's ready for your photos. Let's save it by using the Save button here. Make sure it says PSP image, and you'll find it in the list here. And call it whatever you like. You can see I've got a couple of examples there for later, but I'm going to call this 4x6 photos and also 2, meaning that I can get 2 on this template if I want to. And I'm going to click Save. I'm going to close it. And now I want you to open it. So this is what you would do if you were starting off from scratch. Here's our template, 4x6, 2. You can do this from Windows Explorer and just drag it into the workspace, like so. The reason I want to do it this way is so that you can see it opens with the layers, but also don't work on your template, putting your photos in. Go to Window and Duplicate, that's right. Make a new image of it, view it at 30%, and for now we can minimise this one out of the way. That means if you save this one, you won't have altered your original template, and if you've accidentally deleted anything, you won't have to redo it. So now let's pull in a couple of photos so that you can see what it looks like. Again, I'll use Windows Explorer so you can see how I do it. And we're not going to drag them into the main workspace. We're going to drag them straight into this layers palette. So I'm going to choose this one of my husband first and drag it above the 4 photo one and let go. And you can see it's there above the layer. The mask is working because we can't see anything over on this right hand side, but of course it is going to be far too big. Now, digital cameras and cameras on our phones have all sorts of different settings for photographs, and that can make things a little confusing. To make sure that you always have really good crisp prints for when it comes to printing, make sure that your settings on your device are for the highest pixel count that it will take, so that when it comes to resizing them, you've got plenty of pixels to work with to keep the image nice and crisp, and that it will fit the space that you want to use. To resize, you want to go to this button here, resize, and I know mine come in quite large, and for this I think 48% will reduce. We'll do it by percentage once we're within a document, and under advanced settings, which you can open with the check mark, make sure this option, resize all layers, is unchecked, because we only want to resize the photograph, not the whole document. And click OK. And you can see that has resized. Now we need to move it and put it in place, and perhaps even make it just a little bit smaller. Because we're in a group with our mask layer, we want to use the pick tool. If we use the simple move tool, it will move the whole layer if we click on it like this, and that isn't what we want. You can click undo. So we need the pick tool so that it moves only the layer of our photograph. Once we have the pick tool, we will have these nodes, and that's the actual size of the photo, and you move it by grabbing it in the middle here. So I can see it's still quite big, so I can bring it in a little bit more from the corners. And if yours does some funny thing there, just check that you're in scale up in the mode here, because there are other options, perspective and shear, and so it might only have moved one corner. So you need to be in scale. If you've already done that, just undo and it'll take it back to the original. Now I can move that into position where I want it. I'm going to put him about there. And now I'm ready to add another photo. So I click on my 4 photo 2 layer and choose which one I want. I'm going to pick a simple contrasting one for the purposes of this, of some daffodils. To resize, when you know you're going to be resizing at the same percentage, you can hold down your Shift key and click resize, and it will repeat the last command. And so I know that's 48%, and I can just move it around. I quite liked the shadow this threw on the wall, which is why I picked the photo, so I'll just make it look a bit arty by offsetting it. There we go. And that's really all there is to it. You've now got 4 by 3 photos on your 4 by 6 canvas, and you can be able to send this away and have it printed and be able to trim it. And you might think, well, why do people want to do that? Well, for Project Life, for instance, where you're putting photos in pockets, the sizes are 3 by 4, so this will be absolutely perfect. What if though you want a full photo? You don't want to use these? Well, you can use this same template, but actually before we do that, I should say we ought to save this, didn't we? So save as, and this time JPG, because if you're sending it away to be printed, they like JPGs. And compression here, put it down to best quality, and then give it a name. I'm going to call mine Ian and Daffs. I don't know if there were daffodils, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to click save. I'm just going to minimize that one for the moment. Open up our original template again. Go to Window and Duplicate so that I don't work on the original. Put it at 30%, minimize that again out of the way. And now show you that you can use this same template for a straight 4x6. And I'm going to pick this photograph of the canal and just drop it at the top of all these other layers. And you can see that then none of the masks interfere with it and it fills the whole space. I can do my resizing and then pull this out if I want to see the handles as before. And if I want to make sure it gets a little bit more of everything, and see it's changed there, I want to change back to scale. It does that sometimes for no reason. So let's just drag it in a little bit more. There we go. And a bit more of the path over. There we go. And then I can say as, and I can call that canal. Save. Now you remember I was saying that you need to make sure your device is saving your photos at the maximum pixel quality that it can, and this is a reason why. Here's a photo, this one, that my husband took on his phone when it wasn't at the maximum settings. So if I drag that into here and it immediately puts it at 300 pixels per inch, you'll notice it doesn't even make a 4x6 photo, and that's because he hadn't got his device set at its maximum pixel setting. Now yes, you will need more storage if you're taking it on more quality, but you can see that if you don't, you end up with smaller photos. In the case of this, I can probably drag it out and I won't lose too much quality because there isn't that much that it's smaller by. But on the whole, if you want to make your photos good enough to print at 4x6 or 7x5 or whatever, then you do need to be saving them with the best quality that you possibly can. I'm going to close that for now, and I don't want to save it. I'm going to open our original template again, and I'll leave it so we can see it. It's nice and big for the moment. You might want a white border. Some people do on their photos. So how can you do that? Well, if we go on to the top layer, the top group, and add a new layer down here, new raster layer. Let's call it white border and click OK. And again, the point of doing this is that once you've made this photo template, you won't have to do it again. You can just open it, duplicate and drag your photos in as many times as you like. I want to go to selections again. I'm going to select the whole document, and then I want to go to selections and modify, and I want this one. So it's really hard to say this. Select selection borders. We want to be rectangle. It doesn't matter about the mode really, but you do need anti-alias on. And also this button up here, preview on image, so that you can see what it's doing. And this gives us a border. And when it says you've got these options here, if I click outside, you'll notice it disappears, or one of the lines disappears, and that's because it's actually gone outside of the document. So we want it inside. I've picked 10 here, but I think we'll go a little bit bigger for this is for the 4x6 one, and we'll make it 20 and click OK. Got white here in our foreground colour, and so we need our flood fill tool, and then we click inside those lines on the white border layer, and now I've got a white border all around. I'm going to select none, and I'm going to save that because I don't mind that my white border is on this template, so it'll save it as a PSP image. If I don't want the white border and I just want the photos as before, then I can use this little eye when I'm dragging in my photos to turn it off. So how does that work once you've got a photo in? Well, let's zoom to our 30%. Let's actually duplicate it so we're not working on the original. I'll just move it over and minimise that one. Let's pull in our canal photo once more and drag it underneath the white border but above the others. And we can do our quick resize. I might just drop it quickly to 45 so I don't have, there we go. And you can see we've got a nice even white border all around our 4x6 photo. What if you want the white border around your 4x3 photos? Let's close that. Go back to our template because it won't hurt. We're quite happy. We actually want to save these. We can add another new layer. The dividing one needs to be down the middle, so let's call it divider, because if you've got a 4x6 you only want border around the outside, so you can't have these on the same layer. You need to be able to turn them off individually. And now we need to get a white gap down the middle. Let's use our selection tool. I'm going to do the create selection from merged opaque again. Custom selection. The top and the bottom can stay the same, but I'm going to alter these. Now, here's a bit of math again. We've got 20 pixels around the outside, so we need 20 pixels on the inside of both the two photos. So that's 40 altogether, because you can't just have one single 20, because once you cut it in half, it'll only be 10 pixels on one side. So we need 40 altogether. So 3x3, 900 pixels in the middle minus 20 is 880. And on the right, 900 plus 20 is 920. Click OK. And you can see it's equal down the middle. Let's fill that with white. sections none, and again we can save that because we know we might want to use the borders. So this one template will do all your 4x6 photos with or without borders, and also if you want to divide it into 2 photos of 4x3. And remember, if you don't want the borders, or you only want the white border around the outside, you turn off the layer with the little eye, and you can have it with borders or without, and save your photos as you go along. So let's leave the borders on. Let's duplicate, save that one down at 30% and move that one out of the way. And let's pick the same photos again, and I'll just quickly pull them both in as I did before. I'm going to do them together, and then I'm going to click and resize, click on that one and resize, get my pick tool and do my quick bit of moving around. Gone too far, that'll do. Let's move the old husband into view. See his smiling face. Well, he wasn't smiling, he was squinting. There we go. And then I can save that. No, let's go to save as, because it will remember I wanted JPG. There we go. And I can call it Ian Daffs with the border. And save. So if I just minimize, no, I'll close that. So now if I go back here where I've been saving all these, I can open, oh, it's still saved all the layers. How surprising. I didn't expect it to do that. It shouldn't have done, it should be just a JPG. Oh, I know why, it's because I had it still open. Right, now if I open it, there we go. We've just got the one layer. And if I open the one with the border, and where was our canal? I didn't put the one with the canal with a border, did I? But I'll open it anyway. So there's our 6x4. View them all at our print preview of 30%. So I've got one where it's without borders, one with borders, and bear in mind you can make that border anything you like with that selection method. And there's our full 4x6. This technique will work with any size photo. If you wanted to do 8x6 or 7x5 or even square, 4x4, 5x5, simply make your starting document the size that you want and either divide it up or add your borders as you've seen with this. And I want to show you, you can also do it if you're wanting to print 2x2 photos. I know I've seen this done quite often, so I did a template in exactly the same way with the mask layers for each photo. You can see them all lined up there. And you just drag each photo into its respective little group. You know, photo 6 would go above this layer but below the mask. And you can see all the different white and black bits that are masking off. And I also did a big white border around everything in case I wanted borders. I think I went for 10 pixels for this one, made it a little bit smaller, but with double in the middle, of course. So you can set that up as well. And let me show you, I did one where I just dragged in a few photographs so that you could see what it would look like. So here it is. Let's minimise all these so there's not so much visual clutter. Here it is without the white border, and you can see all the photographs are in their respective little groups and layers. So I know that they're all 2 by 2, and if you want to have a border like we had on the others, I've done that, and I can turn it on, and now I've got a border. Yes, you'd have to measure with your trimmer the gap in between where they meet so that the border around the sides was equal, but I'm sure all you people that are good with scissors and paper trimmers, unlike me, will be able to manage that one quite easily. So you can make it that you can do lots of little 2 by 2 photos too. That's it for this lesson of how to get all your photos exactly the right size that you want. You learned to make a template that you can use again and again and again. You've created mask layers. You know how to pull your photographs in and know that they're going to be at the right resolution and will print crisply. You know that looking at them at 30%, what you see there will be what you see when you print. You can't ask for more than that. Until next time, take care.